Good afternoon. You're listening to Gambling with an Edge. Now here are your hosts, Bob Dancer and Richard Munchkin.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. I'm Bob Dancer.
And I'm Richard Munchkin.
Our guest today is Captain Jack Andrews, one of the co-founders of Unabated. We'll be talking about Unabated. Unabated will become a sponsor of Gambling with an Edge. And there are some new things coming up there. But before we talk about that, we're going to talk about some other sports-related stuff. Captain Jack, welcome to Gambling with an Edge.
Hey, thanks, Bob and Richard. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Have any new states become sports gambling friendly since last time you were on?
Yeah, the march to proliferation across the country continues. Let's see, I was here at the beginning of last football season, and I believe since then we've had Maine, Kansas, Massachusetts, all legalized, and Massachusetts is going to probably take until 2023 to actually start up, but we're going to have it in Maine shortly. There's going to be 4 tribal casinos that all have access to offer sports betting. And Ohio is going to be starting here probably the first of the year. Well, actually, it's not probably, it is definitely the first of the year. They're going to have a very rich environment there, over 20 different operators in Ohio.
Wow.
And Massachusetts, like I said, a little bit after the start of the year. And Kansas. Kansas is actually maybe by the time people play this episode, because September 1st, they say they will have the first sportsbooks go online in Kansas.
And California is still in quite a battle, right? Mainly between the Indians and the card rooms.
Yeah, California. So I'll try to keep this brief. There's 2 propositions on the ballot in November, Prop 26 and Prop 27. And really for sports bettors, it's a prisoner's dilemma. Which one is worse for you? So Prop 26 is the one the tribals want. They want... And here's the thing. They're saying it's all sports betting. It's really not. The tribal casinos have packed this Prop 26 with roulette, craps. They would be able to have traditional roulette and craps. They would have some punitive measures against the card rooms. And really, that's what their driving force is. They want to shut down their arch enemy, which is the card rooms in California. And then they would offer sports betting, but retail only. So you would have to actually drive to the casino to place a wager, no app wagering. And then there's Prop 27, which is disguised as a bill to help the homeless. And this is actually was a bill that's basically generated by FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, couple others. And what this says is we can have mobile betting in California, but it's only split among companies that are willing to pay $100 million license fee, as well as companies that already operate in 10 other states, which that narrows it down to just basically the 5 biggest operators. So California is faced with this. Do we want just tribals to have it and it be retail only? Or do we want just these 5 or 6 companies to have it and they control it? And here's the thing. People could vote yes, yes. They could vote yes on 26, yes on 27. They could vote no, no. They could vote yes, no. Really what it comes down to, guys, is this is the start. So even if 26 passes, that doesn't mean you'll never get mobile betting in California. It's probably just 2 years off. If 27 fails, that doesn't mean you'll never get DraftKings and FanDuel and the like, because the tribals are going to have to pair up with some company to run the sports books. These tribal casinos don't really have a lot of sports betting experience in-house. So chances are these companies that are tooth and nail fighting each other in the media are actually going to be partners after November, no matter the outcome of however this goes.
Huh.
Now, if Proposition 26 passes and you have to drive there, California casinos are spread out. I mean, there's 10 or 15 or 20 miles between the closest ones, and some are 100 miles.
Yeah, where I lived, it was 100 miles basically in any direction, but it was 100 miles to get to a casino.
Yeah, and the other part of this is not all the tribals want sports betting. They want is roulette and craps, and to stick it to the card rooms. So I have a feeling a lot of tribals won't even offer sports betting. They'll just say, "Oh yeah, we'll get to that coming soon," but they're going to wait until mobile betting if they can swing that in like 2024. It's really, like I said, it's a prisoner's dilemma for sports bettors, because do you want to do the right thing and vote no on both, but then have to wait for the next time it circles around, which is probably 2 years later at the least.
That seems weird to me because they have roulette and craps. I mean, they use various kind of card versions of the game, but I can't imagine that suddenly switching to roulette that didn't involve the cards would suddenly increase people playing lots more roulette.
Yeah, look, it's that sticking it to the card rooms, the enforcement actions that they'll be able to do against the card rooms. That's the real secret. That's where that's what's buried in there.
All right. We're just about to start an NFL season. As far as I can tell, there aren't any substantive rule changes in the NFL this year. Is that true, or am I missing something?
No, this is one of the few off seasons where there really hasn't been any major rule changes in the NFL. The only real one is that in overtime, both teams get a crack at the ball. That's a change that related from that Buffalo Kansas City playoff game last year. But really, it hasn't been no major changes this year. So it's one of these years where you can kind of look back on what happened last year with a little bit more introspection.
All right. Many years ago, Stanford Wong wrote a book, Smart Sports Betting, and in there he talked about teasers. Is the way Wong spread it out, is that still a viable strategy?
Yeah, I think every time I've been on Gambling with an Edge, I've talked about Wong teasers in some form or fashion. And surprisingly, they're still viable. You still have sports books out there that will let you tease through the 3, 6, and 7. That's kind of what makes a Wong teaser profitable, is you're capturing those key points in the distribution of the point spread. And we have seen some sports books start to price them higher and higher. In other words, back when Wong wrote that book, you could still find a 2-team 6-point teaser for even money. And then it became minus 110. You can still find some minus 110s. Minus 120 is a little bit more prevalent now. 3-team teaser, you can still find it for plus 160. Rarely you'll find a plus 180 out there. So the only way this dies off is if sports books basically price them so that they're no longer profitable for sports bettors. But here's the other thing that's kind of working against them, is the efficiency of the market is making these points be worth more gradually over time. And so the exactness of the point spread to the final outcome in the NFL is converging. And what that does is makes these teasers even more valuable year over year. So if you can, shop around, find your best teaser outlet, and Wong teasers are still a very viable bet. And if there's anyone listening that has never read Sharp Sports Betting, you got to read it. I mean, it's basically one of the Bibles of sports betting when it comes to learning how it's done.
Are there places that will take any action on these teasers?
Yes, definitely. You still can. And here's the thing with a lot of places these days is you're betting automatically. You're betting at a kiosk. You're betting at an app. You're able to kind of get the bet down without there being some manager behind the teller that has to approve or disapprove the bet. So it's actually a lot easier to kind of get money down than it was just a couple of years ago. Go to a kiosk, make the bet on the kiosk, and maybe just smurf it through $100 at a time, that sort of thing. There's a lot of different ways to kind of practice the art of sports betting these days.
There's a lot of APS out there, whether they're card counters or slot players or video poker players, who want to add sports betting to the repertoire. And we keep talking about that on Gambling with an Edge, but they still don't know a whole lot about it. If they were going to get started on this, how would they go about it?
So, Bob, I have talked to a lot of card counters that have tried to make this transition into sports betting. They probably listen to the show and they hear plenty of sports betting guests. And it seems like, oh, that's something I need to be doing because that's what other APs are doing. And they get into it and they quickly kind of lose their way, because the one fundamental difference between sports betting and card counting is there's not a finite deck that you're dealing with when it comes to the possible outcomes. In other words, you can't quantify your edge as easily in sports betting as you can in card counting. And that kind of throws people off. And what's my bet size? And, what's my N0? What's my risk of ruin? That sort of thing. And previously, I've told people, oh, this is just some hurdle you'll have to overcome. But actually, in the past year or two, basically, the work I've been doing at Unabated has led me to kind of realize that there is a way to basically take a card counter's approach to sports betting and a way to quantify your edge. So it's kind of this top-down method, and that's a popular catchphrase these days. It used to be called steam chasing. And basically all it is you find a sharp book and you find a not so sharp book, a slower book. And when the sharp book moves to a new number and the slower book doesn't move, you grab the line at the slower book for, whatever difference you can get. And you can then quantify how much that is worth to you by using tools like we have at unabated.com, where you can see how much that difference in line is worth, and how much the that gain, when factored against the VIG, all factors together, you can quantify your edge. And that's basically what a lot of sports bettors have always had trouble with, is quantifying your edge. And once you quantify your edge and say, oh, I have a 3.4% edge here, well, then you can apply all of the Kelly betting mathematics, where you then say, oh, well, then I'm going to bet quarter Kelly into this, and that's going to be basically, I'll bet a 1% of my bankroll into this 3 to 4% edge. It becomes a lot more like card counting to people. It becomes a lot more systematic, a lot more quantifiable. And I think, honestly, that's going to bridge the gap for a lot of APs that want to go from card counting to sports betting.
But how do you not get trapped by professionals who are manipulating the line and sending it in the wrong direction?
I mean, that's definitely a risk. But if you look at the odds screens these days, you can definitely see almost like a wave of at Unabated, our odds screen is a dark blue background and our highlights are yellow. Or kind of like a maize yellow color. And you want to see a wave of yellow kind of sweep across the screen. That's not necessarily manipulation. Something that's really popular these days, and this is just a new phenomenon, are release shows, where they take sharp bettors that are well-known sharp bettors that have influence in the market, and they put them on YouTube, and they release their play out there for like 2,000 people that are watching on YouTube, and everybody runs and bets it. And the effect that it has on the line is this almost tsunami wave that sweeps across the screen. You see the sharp books react right away. You see the rest of the books trail behind. And you can also have an effect where it moves too far, and then you can kind of play back. And one of the things that I've been teaching people at Unabated is how to spot these line moves, how to make sure you're getting a good enough number, and then how to spot when, as I call it, they move a bridge too far. And you can then say, okay, that's got to be where it ends. That's too far. Their edge is not this big. And you play back on the other side of it. And you basically have, in a lot of cases, a positive EV middle with very little risk involved. And for many bettors, that's basically the way that they're just grinding up a profit as they go. They're not necessarily sports fans. They're not handicapping. They're not trying to figure out which team is better. They might not even know who the players are on the team. They just know that the market says that it should be north of this. And then when the market moves too far north, they say, well, then it should be south of this. And now they have a meaty middle to work with from there.
Now, sports fans know that blue and maize are colors of a certain Big Ten team. And now, is that an accident that those show up, or is there some University of Michigan blood among the unabated programmers?
Bob, we just wanted to be aesthetically pleasing. If you know what sports odds screens look like in the sports betting world, they've always been incredibly stark and tough to stare at. And we just wanted something that was a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. We wanted these different hues to be all within the kind of the same color tone of spectrum. There was a lot of planning that went into our user interface, but any similarity to Michigan is purely coincidental.
So I want to step back for a second. So these release shows, are these guys who are doing this, you say these are actual pros who are releasing these picks. Have they already got their money down, or why are they doing this? What's in it for them?
So part of the art of sports betting used to be anyway, that if you did something and the screen moved, you were doing it wrong. You didn't want to tip off the entire market by getting your money down. And so I'm sure these guys that are making these bets know where to bet. They're making these picks, know where to bet so that the screen doesn't move. But at the same time, when you put it on a release show and you put 2,000, hungry bettors that are all flocking to DraftKings and FanDuel and BetMGM, it's going to make the screen light up. And the smarter sportsbooks basically watch these streams, and when they see that this line is coming, they quick adjust their line before the bettors can even get there. So it's basically these release shows. I'm not a big fan of them. I think they're definitely not teaching the right things to bettors, because you don't want to have the screen light up like that. But if you're able to kind of teach the cause and effect of sports betting by following these release shows, it's entertaining at least, and you can profit from it.
Yeah, but why are the pros on them?
Clout, basically clout. These are also guys that sell their other releases elsewhere. And
so these are touts. They're not.
Yes.
I mean,
okay. No, we're not talking. Rufus doesn't go on a release show and announce it.
Okay. I was confused there. All right. So these probably are not even winning picks then. They're just
these are guys like Right Angle Sports, which has a reputation of being a winning tout. Brad Powers, who's a friend of our old buddy Fezzik, over there pregame. And so these are guys that probably have some skill. These release shows make them appear to have far more skill because they're moving the markets drastically. But at the same time, that again creates this bridge too far effect where you can kind of play it back.
Now, the NFL is reputed to be one of the most efficient markets, meaning there's relatively little room for players to make money in that market, especially new players. But given a new player who wanted to bet the NFL, is there any basic strategy that they could that you could advise them to have at least a small edge?
Okay, yeah, I could come up with a few tips here. So if you're new to sports betting, you want to get into the NFL. We're right at the start of the NFL season. You want to make some bets. You want to do it intelligently. The first thing, the single sharpest thing you can do as a sports bettor is to line shop, is to find the best price. It's to be a savvy consumer. You need to shop around and see who has the best price for this bet that I want to make. And that right there, you will not necessarily win, but you will definitely lose less, because often you're paying lower vig, or you're getting a better line than elsewhere. So you will definitely lose less that way. I would say the second thing, if you're getting involved into the NFL this season, keep your focus fairly narrow. Don't try to bet everything, every game, everywhere. Narrow your focus. Maybe just focus on the teams in one division and get to know them. Or maybe just focus on a certain type of bet. Maybe those teaser bets that I was talking about, those Wong teasers. Maybe focus on props. If you kind of like how player performance, if you're maybe a fantasy football league, you can kind of leverage your knowledge of player performance and bet into some props, that sort of thing. Another tip I would say is a rule that I call the 3-7-6 rule. Those are the three most key numbers in the NFL. In other words, the price of the 3 and the 7 and the 6 are key numbers to remember. They're worth more in terms of the overall scoring distribution. The 3 is worth the most, then the 7, then the 6. That's why I said in that order. Those are also the 3 numbers you need to cross through to make a profitable Wong teaser. But when I talk about the 3-7-6 rule, it's you want to make sure you're on the right side of the 3, the 7, and the 6. So in other words, if the line is -3, you want to try to get -2.5. You want to be on the right side of it. If the line that you're wanting to bet is +3, you want to look for +3.5. It doesn't mean that you can't necessarily take +3, but you definitely don't want to take +2.5. You don't want to be on the wrong side. You want to be kind of gaining the 3, gaining the 7, or gaining the 6 whenever your bet comes down to those numbers. And then I'd say the other major tip that I would have, basic strategy, is don't wait until game day to think about a game, to place your bets. The NFL is one of the most efficient markets in sports betting, and it gets more and more efficient as time marches on for each game. So in other words, the line comes out the previous Sunday and then gets hammered into place by all these bettors all over the world to the point when we get close to kickoff on a Sunday, that line is pretty efficient. And you're not going to be able to beat that in the long term. So if you're looking to bet a game on Sunday, you better have been thinking about it and got your money down on whatever side you want prior to that. And if you have no clue, well then, yeah, you can bet on game day as best you can because that market's so efficient that you're not making a horrible bet in doing so. But if you're looking to get an edge at sports betting at the NFL, you probably want to be betting before game day.
I think you left out the other sort of basic strategy is, especially with NFL season starting, to grab all the bonus money that you can at all these sports books if you haven't done it already.
Yeah, that is starting to dry up. So I've been here on your show at the start of the NFL season, a couple of years now. And each year I say, grab that bonus money, go down to Arizona if you're in Vegas and grab the bonus money in Arizona. It's really starting to dry up. To the point where I'm not sure that there's going to be much more past this season. Previously, we had seen at least $1,000 offers, $2,000 offers at the start of the NFL season. And now we're looking at like $100, $200 sign-up offers in most of the states. The new states that are coming online, there'll still be some decent offers right at the jump for those. So if you're in Ohio or you're in Kansas or even Maryland doesn't quite have mobile betting yet, Massachusetts. Those are places where you can probably still kind of pick off some good value when they start. But for the most part, it's getting tight. Not as many bonuses and promos out there as there used to be. But definitely make that part of your repertoire in kind of picking up the pennies of value wherever you can find them.
During football season, what does your Captain Jack Andrews look like? I'm assuming you're at least betting some on football.
I do. I am more of a value bettor when it comes to football. I don't try to handicap or build my own model when it comes to football. So typically I am looking at an odds screen and seeing as it moves throughout the week. I will usually check on Monday to see what the new lines are for the following week, see if anything's sticking out, see if any sharp books are already kind of moving in one direction that I can possibly tail their movement. And one of the things I started to do last year is we have a season simulator at Unabated. I think I talked about this last year. Basically, you put in power ratings and it updates each week. You put in your power ratings and it'll simulate out the rest of the season 10,000 times. And it'll kind of give you the price points for just about every kind of future bet in the NFL. So whether that be the Super Bowl, championship game, conference championship, season wins. And one of the things that I discovered last year is a lot of sports books leave their season win totals. In other words, will Green Bay win over under 11 games this year? They leave those bets up throughout the year and they adjust them. And sometimes their adjustments are not quite accurate according to simulation. And I was able to pick off every week last year. I'd go in on a Tuesday and I would run the simulator, update my ratings, use Rufus's Massey Peabody ratings. And I was able to find value every single week. And it got to the point where towards the end of the season, I was like, oh, did I get myself in too deep here? I had like 20 different season win bets. And I went. I'm remembering off the top of my head, but I believe I went like 16-4 on those 20 bets. It was remarkable. It was great, and that was largely due to looking in a place for value that a lot of people just flat out ignore as the season goes on. And it was very profitable. And I'm going to do that again this year on Tuesdays. I'm going to load up our simulator and see what I can find. So then as the week goes on, we got the Thursday night game. I may look for some props on Thursday night games just to see, if there's anything there. The injury reports come out on Thursdays and Fridays in the NFL. And that's when you see a lot of line moves happen. And so I'm always kind of jumping on when I see an injury report. I kind of have a whole Twitter list of people that I follow that tweet out what the injury report is for various teams. And if I see a quarterback on there, I'm definitely reacting to that. Everybody else in the NFL, all the other positions aren't worth much more. But the quarterback is definitely worth at least 3 to sometimes 9 points if somebody like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady is injured suddenly. So I'm definitely jumping on those line moves when I can spot them. And then as the week rounds out down to Saturday and Sunday, again, I'm looking at some props and probably just kind of looking to see any late moves and see if I can stay ahead of them in the market.
You mentioned Tom Brady. I mean, at some point, he has to become overvalued, I would think. I mean, the guy can't play forever. So, I mean, do you think too much money goes down on him because of his past reputation, or is that too dangerous to get on?
It's tough because, we have to reach a point. He's 45 now. We have to reach a point where there's diminishing returns. And how much is the diminishing return of Tom Brady? He's got a reduced receiving core this year in Tampa Bay. He's got some kind of personal issues that he's, says he's working through. We don't quite know what they are, but that could affect things. I'll give you a hint. I already played some teasers on Dallas plus the tease from +1.5 up to +7.5 for that opening week Sunday night game. Because I just feel like I'm not so much fading Tom Brady as much as I am just saying, look, Dallas is home. It's a Wong teaser. This seems like good value. And then when you add on the intangible of we don't quite know what we don't know yet about Tom Brady, this makes this a good bet in my opinion.
Do you watch much NFL football?
I do watch NFL football. I like to give this answer when everybody asks me, "Oh, do you watch a lot of sports?" And I say, "No, I don't need to watch a lot of sports. I'm betting them. I'm working the market." But I really like watching the NFL. So yes, I have the Red Zone package. I'm watching 7 hours of commercial-free football every Sunday. It's just fun. I like the NFL. The NFL is probably the one sport where I can watch any game that's being played between any two NFL teams and be thoroughly enjoyed by it, thoroughly enjoy the whole production of it.
And wives love that when you watch 7 hours of uninterrupted television.
Well, my wife has learned that she goes and plays softball or field hockey on these various rec leagues in the fall on Sundays. So we've worked that out.
Now, we talked about what you would be doing during your NFL weeks. Now, Rufus, since he has to come up with these Massey Peabody rankings, his week looks a whole lot different than yours.
Yeah, Rufus is one of the hardest working guys I've ever met. He's always got something going on. He's got a million balls in the air that he's trying to juggle. I don't even know if he watches a lot of games himself because he analyzes all of the stats, the play-by-play, everything that goes into his Massey Peabody ratings, and he's running the updates. And then he's betting golf, and golf only has like 2 weeks off an entire calendar year. So he's basically every single week betting both golf. He's betting some college football. He's betting some NFL football. I don't know where he finds time for it all, but he's strictly numbers based. He is all about the numbers. And, you can't argue with his success. So it works well for him. But man, the guy just goes nonstop, 110% every day of the week.
Now, we've been talking NFL. It's basically the same game as college football, right? So if you're good at betting NFL, you can be good at betting college. Is that follow?
Yeah, they are two totally different sports. Let's start with scoring distribution. So the scoring distribution in the NFL is pretty well known. You're not going to have a team blow out another team by 40 points too often in the NFL. However, in college, you see this all the time because there's definitely some mismatches in terms of parity of the leagues, right? So while the NFL, you might never have some team be more than like a 14-point favorite, in college, you could have a 40-point favorite easily. And so the distribution of points is more scattered, more evenly distributed. And that makes things like the 3, the 6, and the 7 not worth as much. Same with totals. You know, the NFL totals are pretty much bunched between 37 and 51, where in college, you can go lower than that if Army's playing a team, and you can go much higher than that with whoever Alabama's beating up on this week. You might have totals in the 70s in college. So you really can't apply any of the logic of NFL scoring distribution to college. And I see people all the time make that mistake. They want to play Wong teasers in college football. You can't do that. They want to, they catch a plus 7.5 and think they found gold. No, it's not worth as much as you thought it was. Now at Unabated, we do have tools that are specifically for college. So if you want to start to price out what each thing is worth in college football in terms of point distribution or totals or even partial game derivatives, first halves, first quarters, we have all those tools. And it's a good thing we do, because if we didn't, people would try to use the NFL tools on college, and it would be much to their detriment.
Well, the NFL teasers work better on college football than they do on hockey. But
I don't know if I can get 6 extra points in hockey. I think they'd work better.
That's true.
Yeah, well, it might be a price change. All right, we're going to take a brief commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what's new at Unabated since last season. Hint, a bunch. And so we'll be right back talking with Captain Jack Andrews. The South Point has more than 10,000 games returning at least 99%. This is more such game than anyone else has. To celebrate the upcoming South Point 400 NASCAR event, the September promotion is earning City Lights Moonshine. You can earn up to 3 bottles weekly, Sunday through Saturday, excluding the days of September 18th through 20th, by earning 1,200 points on video poker or slots. You keep the points. There's a different mixture of moonshine flavor this year than they had previously. Now you can choose among bar candy, key lime, lychee, orange, original, and plum. On Labor Day, September 5th, from 7 a.m. through midnight, they'll have a hot seat promotion where $100 winners are drawn every 2 minutes on average. This is a bigger promotion than they usually have for hot seat. Before it was every 3 minutes rather than every 2 minutes, and now it's 1 hour longer.
If you're serious about card counting, the Blackjack Apprenticeship membership is a great way to learn, train, network, and get the resources you need to succeed. We've had quite a few guests on Gambling with an Edge who exclusively trained and got their start through Blackjack Apprenticeship. Check out their website at blackjackapprenticeship.com. They have member forums, training software, and guides to help you learn. That's blackjackapprenticeship.com, and you will find a link in the show notes.
Videopoker.com is the best place to play lots of games. If you sign up for the gold membership, $8.95 a month or $79.95 a year, this allows you to get correction on most of the games. The game of the week is Wheel Poker. This is a 6 coins per line game where you get to spin a wheel when you end up with a 4 of a kind. The average wheel spin is worth about 420 coins. The correct strategy isn't hard to work out if you have video poker software. If you're playing a game where the quads are worth 250, 400, and 800, for example, you add 420 to each of these and get 670, 820, and 1220, and then you work out the strategy. The hands that change in value aren't that many. You check out low pair versus 4 card straights, 2 pair versus a full house, and whether it's smart to keep kickers with 3 of a kinds. There are a few other hands to look at, but not many. This is a game that typically overhold for the casinos because players don't make good adjustments. For this reason, sometimes you can find a better than average pay schedule on wheel poker at casinos with normally not such good pay schedules. All right, we are back to Captain Jack Andrews, Unabated. We'll start doing unabated commercials next week, but since today's whole show is basically about unabated, we're not going to do a specific commercial about them. But has anything changed in unabated since last year?
Yes. And by the way, we are thrilled to be sponsoring Gambling with an Edge. I have been listening since way back when. And yeah, so I was thrilled when we were given the opportunity to sponsor. I think it's a great pairing for us, especially with your educated audience that you have. So what's new at Unabated? A lot is new. Probably the biggest thing is we've put a lot of work over the past year into what we feel is one of the best odds screens out there. So I was talking about the top-down method, and the best way to practice that is to use an odds screen, but you need a fast odds screen. You need a real-time odds screen. And we've created one of the best at Unabated. And not only that, but we've made it free. Most of the odds screen is free without ever having to log in, give us your name, anything you want to do. You just go to unabated.com, go to the odds screen. You can see the real-time odds for a market maker. This month it's bookmaker. And you can also see real-time odds for various sports books, both onshore as well as offshore. A lot of states prevent you from displaying offshore odds next to regulated books because most other sites are taking affiliate money, and they don't let you take affiliate money from offshore as well as affiliate money from regulated books. We don't take any affiliate money. We don't have any affiliate deals. So therefore, we can display these because we're not making any money off of this. And but it's really important to see the ecosystem of sports betting. So we have offshore outs up there. We have onshore. And then we have integrated tools into this so that if you want to compare two lines, if you want to say, which is better, +3 -110 or +2.5 +115, you can just click on those two and select the compare lines tool, and it'll tell you which one of those is better. And that is also free to anyone that goes to the site. Now, we have a lot more to the site that's behind our paywall. We have things like in-game live odds. In other words, real-time odds from various sports books in-game live. And then we have tools associated with that. And this is one of the things that Rufus is most excited about is we're debuting a NFL and a college football in-game betting tool that will price out what alternate lines should be while the game is going on. So in other words, you click on a line and we'll tell you what say the line is like -3, we'll tell you what the price should be for -2.5, -1.5, -3.5, -4.5, because you're going to find at all these sports books, you can not only bet during the game on the line they put up, but they also put up these alternate spreads. And the pricing for an alternate line in game is very complex. What Rufus is doing is he's basically running thousands of simulations for the rest of the game from that current line and doing it in real time to produce the result. And we feel like our results are going to be enlightening for sharp bettors. They're going to be able to find edges in in-game betting that heretofore probably no one's ever really picked off because they didn't know they existed. I'm kind of saying we're going to be doing it better than the sportsbook is in coming up with our price generation. And I think we are. We've looked this over and we feel there's a definite gap here. So, this is a tool you definitely want to try to use. We've already done this with baseball and as well as college and the NBA basketball, and it's worked out very well. There are guys that are on our site that they've shown me the receipts. They've shown me what they've made using this tool over the course of the past couple seasons, basketball and baseball, and it's very impressive. So this is a great way to find an edge. And it's just one of the kind of the multifaceted ways that we create edges at Unabated. In other words, we don't want to be steering all of our members to the same bet because that's just going to kill that bet faster, and it's probably going to kill their accounts faster. So we have things like an in-game tool, but then we also have a prop simulator, and we have a prop shopping tool, and we have our pregame bets, and we have our halftime bets, and we have our quarter bets, and we have all these different tools that we're spreading out over all of the different members so that everybody's not all attacking the same line. And I think that's going to aid them with sustainability in being a bettor. You know, I remember one of the first times I was on here and talking about unabated, I think, Richard, you asked, you know, what's going to prevent this from basically just sharpening up the market and killing any edge that's out there? This is what we do. This is by spreading it out, by being more diverse, it helps kind of sustain the market. And what we've seen is there's a lot of different sports books out there with a lot of different opinions. And right now, in-game betting is where they all want to be. They've all been told, these operators, that in-game betting is the hot thing. That's where you need to start taking the action. So really what they're doing is they're just taking all the action on in-game that they can, thinking that they're going to get the best of it by just higher velocity of bets, higher frequency of bets. And they will from most of the other bettors. But this also presents a great opportunity for unabated users to basically have an edge, and it's an edge that the sportsbook's going to have trouble quantifying. There's no closing line value in in-game betting because the line's moving too fast. And so the unabated user is going to have kind of an edge here that kind of flies under the radar with a lot of sportsbooks. So we're really excited. It's just something that I think is a win-win for everybody involved. And what we're going to do is look, unabated is not free. The last time I was here, we hadn't put up a paywall yet. We do have a paywall. We are $149 a month currently, and $99 a month if you pay annually. And what we have right now is we have a 7-day free trial if you want to sign up for the monthly plan. You get 7 days to look it over, and you can always cancel your subscription before the 7 days are up, and you won't get charged. But if you find value in it, you can stick around and start getting charged monthly. And what we're doing is we're running a brief sale here. We're not a gimmicky sale type of promo company, but we're running a brief sale on the annual package between now and September 8th, which is the kickoff of the NFL, the first game. Right up until kickoff of that game, we're offering a 10% discount off of the annual price for Gambling with an Edge listeners. You just enter the promo code EDGE, as in gambling with an edge, and you get 10% off the annual price, which that works out to be a $120 discount off of the annual price. And look, I believe that's a great deal. I think you can find a lot of value on our site, even if you're just a casual sports bettor. But I'm not the kind of person that likes to sell people anything, but at the same time, I truly believe we're offering a great value to sports bettors here. And I hope people take advantage of this offer, promo code EDGE.
Yeah, I think, often in gambling, people, they just want something easy. You have to realize that whatever form of gambling, if you're going to try to get an edge at it, it's going to take work. So, if you're just looking to be handed the winners or whatever, this is not for you, right? You have to go into it realizing you're going to have to put in some time. And if you're willing to put in the time, then this might be a great investment.
Yeah, that's been my ethos from the start, Richard, is I don't want to spoon feed anybody anything. I don't want to just give them a pick. I know that we would sell a lot more subscriptions if this was Jack and Rufus's picks. People would love that, but I don't like that. I don't like doing that. I believe, and look, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and you know how I got to where I am? I continually kept learning. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to find something new to do, some other way to do things. And that's sort of the ethos I took to Unabated, is we want to make sure you have to do something to unlock your edge, and you need to learn how it's done to get there. It's not hard. We have plenty of tools that make it very easy. We have articles on our site that show you step by step how to do it. But we want to make sure you learn. We want to teach you how to fish instead of just giving you a fish. And hopefully this audience, above any other podcast I do, understands that principle. And that's why I wanted to offer this sale code, is because this is our target audience. The Gambling with an Edge audience is ideal for unabated.
You mentioned in-game football betting. Now, Matthew David Al and Ed Miller created some kind of model for in-game football betting. Are they involved at all with unabated and the advice that you give there?
So they founded a company called Deck Prism, and they recently merged with another company, and now they're called Huddle Tech. Deck Prism is on our odds screen, and we are the only odds screen where you can find the Deck Prism lines. And we think very highly of Matt and Ed, and I believe Ed and Matt think highly of us. And that's why we've been able to kind of make this partnership work. They're not involved anyway in like the revenue of unabated or anything like that. They don't have an equity stake. But we wanted to create a partnership with them because we feel they are a great source of truth when it comes to in-game betting. Their in-game line is, I believe, the sharpest out there. And so if you're able to see the Deck Prism in-game line and you compare that on the screen to like FanDuel and DraftKings, you can see the value right away. You know, Deck Prism says this should be minus 11.5, and DraftKings and FanDuel put up minus 9.5. Well, boom, grab the minus 9.5. That's great. That's the sort of thing you can do with our odds screen and seeing that Deck Prism line in real time. We are connected into the back end of Deck Prism. So in other words, their traders make the change and boom, it's instant on our screen right away. We have a couple of those back end integrated feeds, and it's as instantaneous as you can possibly get.
So what you're saying is, with your tool, if you see Deck Prism puts up minus 11.5, somebody else has minus 9.5, then your tool can go in and say, if you can get this price at this line, that, this is even better, right? Am I doing that right?
Yeah. So in that instance, you can see it right on the screen. You don't even need to use a tool. You see that minus 9.5 is better than minus 11.5. But what the in-game betting tool does is it then prices out all the alternate bets. So we could tell you the price of minus 9.5, what it should be, and now you're able to quantify your edge. You're not just saying, 9.5 is better than 11.5. You say, minus 9.5, that should be minus 142, and I'm able to get it at minus 110. That's a big edge for me. That's like a 16% edge. And, for a blackjack player, getting a 16% edge, you'd sell your grandmother for that, right? So it's not like everything on our screen is unicorns and rainbows and 16% edges, but they do exist. They absolutely exist. That's how inefficient the market can be sometimes. And when you have a trusted source like Deck Prism, and by the way, we also put Bookmaker up there too. They're a very sharp book as well. And if you see Bookmaker and Deck Prism agree on a price, and FanDuel and DraftKings are out in left field, which they often are, that's as good as it gets.
But if it's, let's say it's minus 9.5, doesn't FanDuel or whoever also tell you can get minus 9 at this price and minus 8.5 at that price and minus 10 at this price? And does your tool tell you what those prices should be? Because you might find an even higher edge at one of the other alternates.
Right. Absolutely. They do. And we price out an entire range of alternates and put them right there on the screen for you so that you can quickly see. Now, you're also going to have to do a lot of mental math. And, you kind of learn how to see when your edge is bigger on certain numbers. And keep in mind, this is all live betting. And that's why we always tell people, do it at commercial breaks, do it between innings, do it at TV timeouts, so that you at least have 2 to 3 minutes to process this all and maybe crunch some numbers real quick on a calculator or using our other tools, which have all of those tools built in. But yeah, you got to act quick. And I get a lot of questions from people going, so now what Kelly fraction should I use for this? And I'm like, we're working too fast here. You can't necessarily get bogged down in that kind of mental math. You just got to say, okay, the approximate amount that I should bet is this, and shove the money out there. It goes back to that science of betting and the art of betting. The science, you can figure out all the actual technical place you should be, but the art is getting the money down. And when you're dealing with live betting, man, you just got to get that money out there and, count the profits later.
All right. One last question before we go to recommended. In the past week or so, I've gotten some emails from Unabated about sports betting. It seemed to be the start of a series of emails. What kind of information are you planning to publish via this route, and how do you get on this mailing list?
So if you sign up for a new account, we have a 7-day onboarding process of emails, just one email a day for 7 days. And they come from me. They're emails that I have written, and they basically walk you through all the different things you can do at Unabated. And of course, that times out nicely with our 7-day free trial that we have now. So we're basically telling you everything you can do at Unabated over the course of 7 days, so that hopefully you say, oh, there's a lot here for me to do. I'll stick on past the 7 days. Because we found a lot of people didn't realize everything that we were offering at Unabated. And that was our fault for not being able to communicate that properly. So the emails are supposed to be very short. Typically, it's a paragraph or two and maybe a link to an article that I've written, or it's just a quick highlight of something that you can be doing at Unabated. I don't want to bog you down with emails. I hate when people spam me with different emails, but this is all just onboarding for you. So I don't know what step you are through the process there, Bob, but hopefully you're learning something new about Unabated in each of those emails.
Hopefully. And they're actually haven't all been from you.
Okay.
But I forgive you for that. All right. Thank you, Captain Jack. At the end of our shows, Richard and I, and sometimes our guest, has a recommended. Richard, do you have a recommended for our audience today?
Yeah, a couple of months back, I recommended Ed Thorp was on the Tim Ferriss podcast, and I had recommended that, and then recently discovered that he went back for a second time, and just listened to that, and man, he's just amazing. He just turned 90, and he is so sharp, and the podcast is so good. Anybody who listens to this show, I'm sure, will enjoy it. So check that out. It's Ed Thorp's second interview on the Tim Ferriss podcast, and we will have a link to it in the show notes.
Very good. And my recommended is for people who listen to the podcast right when it comes out. This is being posted Thursday, September 1st. On Saturday, September 3rd, is National Cinema Day. So at theaters all across the country, some 3,000 theaters, every movie, every showtime, every format is $3. And so for those of you who like seeing, so most of us have gotten away from going, many of us have gotten away from going to theaters because of Netflix and Hulu and the others on our TV. But there's something about the big screen. And so if you're going to watch the new version of Top Gun, it's more interesting on a big screen than it is on your TV screen. And so one day only, every movie, $3 at most theaters around the country. All right. Jack Andrews, earlier you said you did not have an recommended. I'm assuming that's still the case.
Yeah, that's still the case, but I like both of yours. I'm definitely going to check both of those out. Thank you.
You are welcome. And so thank you very much, Jack. Thank you, Richard. Go out and hit lots of royal flushes, everybody. Good day.